Today you'll be learning how to subtract polynomials. The one thing you're going to have to remember with subtraction is that you are subtracting this entire polynomial. So you're going to subtract 3x and you're going to subtract a positive 2. So you might want to start by just rewriting the problem. The 5x plus 4 is going to stay exactly as it is. But now you're going to subtract everything in here. So you're going to subtract 3x and you're going to subtract 2. Now, just like you were doing on the previous lesson, you're going to go and look for like terms and add them together. 5x is going to be combined with the negative 3x. 5x plus a negative 3x is 2x. Now we have a positive 4 and a negative 2. Positive 4 plus negative 2 is positive 2. So the simplified answer is 2x plus 2. The second example, again, we'll just go ahead and write down the first polynomial exactly as it is. X squared minus 4x minus 6. And now you're going to subtract everything that's inside of the second set of parentheses. So now we're going to subtract a negative x. Subtracting a negative x is the same as adding a positive x. So I'm going to write plus x. And then subtract a negative 3. Minus negative 3 is the same thing as adding a positive 3. Basically, having the subtraction sign before the second set of parentheses changes the sign of everything inside of here. The negative x became a positive x, and the negative 3 became a positive 3. Now you're going to go ahead and combine like terms, starting with the x squared. There are no other x squared terms, so we're going to go ahead and just write down x squared. And then let's move on to the x's. I have a negative 4x. That's going to be put with this positive x. And remember, if there's no number in front of the variable, it's a 1. So negative 4x plus a positive 1x is a negative 3x. So we're going to write minus 3x because it was negative. And then lastly, we have a negative 6 and a positive 3. Negative 6 plus positive 3 is a negative 3 when you add those together. So our final answer is x squared minus 3x minus 3. Why don't you go ahead and try those next two. So you might want to pause the video now and try those on your own and then restart it so you can see the solution. 7x minus 5 is going to stay as it is. And then you're going to subtract everything that's inside the second set. So you're going to subtract 2x and then subtract a negative 1, which is the same as adding 1. Now go ahead and combine like terms. The 7x is going to be combined with the negative 2x. 7x plus negative 2x is 5x. And then negative 5 plus a positive 1. Negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. So your final answer is 5x minus 4. In the next example, the first set of parentheses is going to stay the way it is. 2x squared plus 6x minus 4. Now you're going to subtract everything in the second set. So minus an x squared minus a 2x and minus negative 4, which is the same thing as adding a positive 4. Now let's go ahead and group like terms. 2x squared and the negative x squared, which is a negative 1x squared, those are going to be put together. 2x squared plus a negative 1x squared is just 1x squared. We don't need to write the 1 in front of it. Now the x's, we have a positive 6x and a negative 2x. When you add those together, you get 4x. And now for our constants, negative 1 and a positive 4. When you add negative 4 and positive 4 together, you get 0. I don't really need to write the plus 0, so our final answer is x squared plus 4x. Right on to example 3. Again, that first set of parentheses is written exactly as it is. 2x squared plus 3x plus 2. The second one, you need to subtract everything inside of there. So minus x squared, and then minus a negative is really plus a positive, so plus 2x. Now let's go ahead and combine like terms. The 2x squared is going to go together with the negative x squared, and that's a negative 1x squared. So 2x squared plus a negative 1x squared is just 1x squared. Now the x's, positive 3x and a positive 2x. 3x plus 2x is 5x. And then this guy doesn't have anybody to join with him, so it's just plus 2. Final answer is x squared plus 5x plus 2. You may want to pause the video at this point and try the last two problems on your own. All right, first set of parentheses is going to stay exactly as it is, x minus 5. And then we're going to subtract 2x and subtract a negative 1. Subtracting a negative 1 is adding a positive 1. Go ahead and combine like terms. This 1x is going to go with the negative 2x. 1x plus a negative 2x is a negative 1x, or just negative x. And then negative 5 and positive 1, when you add those together, negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. Final answer, negative x minus 4. And then the last example, 3x squared plus 7x plus 4 is written exactly as it is. Now go ahead and subtract 2x squared and subtract 5. Now we're going to combine like terms. We're going to put the 3x squared with the negative 2x squared. Remember, they're only like terms if the variable part is exactly the same, including the exponent. So 3x squared plus a negative 2x squared is x squared. And then we don't have anybody else to go with the 7x, so we just write down plus 7x. And then lastly, we have a positive 4 and a negative 5. Positive 4 plus a negative 5 is a negative 1. So your final answer is x squared plus 7x minus 1. Our very last example is a word problem. It says after x seconds, cyclist A travels 16x plus 2 feet and cyclist B travels 19x minus 1 feet. After 120 seconds, how many more feet does cyclist B travel? Well, let's first of all start by figuring out the difference between the two. If we want to figure out how many more feet cyclist B travels, let's take cyclist B. cyclist B, and then we are going to subtract cyclist A. Now, just like the previous examples, when we go and write this subtraction problem, we have to subtract everything in this second set. So it's going to be rewritten as 19x minus 1 minus 16x, because we're going to subtract 16x and also subtract 2. Now we can simplify this by combining like terms. The 19x and the negative 16x, when you add those together, you get 3x. And then the negative 1 and negative 2, when you add those together, you get negative 3. So the difference between the two is 3x minus 3. But now we want to know after 120 seconds, and x stands for the number of seconds. So we're going to want to replace the x with 120. 3 times 120. And then that answer, take away 3. Well, 3 times 120 is going to be 360. Take away 3. 360 take away 3 is 357 feet. That's how much further cyclist B will travel after 120 seconds.